All right, welcome to the show, Contractor Talk with Richie Kidwell. Every week we bring some new content to you guys here. We're for contractors, by contractors in this, what we call and what we love, the property insurance market here in the state of Florida. We have some great guests for you today. A little bit different of a format, which I love that. We have more cameras here. I want to give special thanks and a shout out to Patrick Carr with Blue Collar Media, always coming in on the in a pinch when we need him. So he's producing the show for us today. So I want to say thank you for that. Special guest today we have, which I'm super excited about, Sterling Scott with Trust Public Adjusters. How you doing today?
Good, man. Thanks.
This is awesome. Yeah. This is awesome. I'm glad you're here today.
It's Trust Public Adjusting Group, though.
Yes.
Trust Public Adjusting Group.
He is the public adjuster, so there you go. The public adjuster. I love that. So, and then we have Hans Kennon with now his new law firm, Kennon Law Group.
I'm glad to be here. Been a couple of weeks. Been doing some stuff with the family. I'm glad to be back, and we can chat about the things help some consumers before storm season starts.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And we have a new friend to our cascade here of our guests that we've had on the show for Contractor Talk with Richie Kidwell. We have Bryan with Big Man Roofing. Is it? Well, go ahead and explain your business.
Oh, okay. So, it's Big Man on the Roof. This is basically like my sales moniker. I'm a representative of Skylight Roofing, so this is just a way how people can actually experience what roofing is like with me. Because what I like to say about the brand is, if you saw me on the roof, how would you explain me? And I'm already giving you a clue in the name. That's how it's set up. So I understand that I'm not coming from like the traditional roofing background. Like my dad wasn't swinging a hammer doing trades. So this is just a way of me having fun with it and also kind of helping people out. Happy to be here. I'm kind of nervous because I'm in a room with some titans. Nice to see Hans. Nice to see a familiar friend. But I'm excited, man.
That's great. That's great. And the purpose usually of our show is to inform consumers, contractors, the ever-changing laws here in the state of Florida. Hans Kennon himself has been part of the FJA, the Florida Justice Association, on the property damage side of things, where they get involved legislatively to help out consumers to keep things even as possible. And
Even's hard, Richie, I got to tell you.
Yes, as much as it can be. When you have a bought-out governor that was promised by the insurance market or an industry $100 million in the midst of a crisis.
And he spent it. And he spent it somehow.
He
spent
did.
the money.
Yeah, he did. Well, that's because he signed into law right before then that he can not have to disclose their expenses of himself or his cabinet in the state of Florida. Wasn't that a funky law right before that all came out?
And then at the same time allow insurers to kind of do whatever they want, sign all the legislation that takes away a lot of rights from the consumer, who we're always here fighting for. A lot of changes went on. I now deal every day with consumers I have to explain the new law to, and they're like, wait a minute, how do I get enough money to fix my house? I said, well, you got to call the governor about that. Because he decided that you and State Farm or whoever are of the same economic standing. So he said, you have to pay me out of your proceeds, which is a hard thing to say. I know Sterling deals with that every day on the public adjusting side. And I know a lot of people say to me, they go, what do I need a public adjuster for? And I'll say, well, because they say, isn't my insurer going to treat me fairly? And I go, well, that may not be the case. I may want to talk to a guy like Sterling, even before you get to me.
Yeah, in what world do you have to file a lawsuit and then win the lawsuit, yet pay the attorneys out of the proceeds? It's pretty standard law practice where if you win, you don't have to pay all the attorney fees, right? So why is the most financially sound industry, the insurance industry, able to not do exactly what the rest of the world operates on?
Right.
And hopefully next year we'll see that. My understanding is the House Speaker next year has some appetite for what we call loser pays, or winner gets his money from the loser.
Sure.
Either way, that was one thing they changed last year. They took away basically the insured's right to recover from their own insurer. If the insurer treated them improperly, incorrectly, in bad faith, however you want to look at it, they've made all those changes, and they still said you got to pay for your own lawyer. Hopefully next year we'll see that retreat a little bit. But I was going to ask Bryan, I get denials, my clients get denials, I should say, that say they fail to maintain their roof. And I'm dying to know from someone who's really up there doing it, how do you tell a consumer to maintain their roof?
I've been going back and forth with that for probably the past couple of years, really since legislation changed, because I always try to play with, like when I'm dealing with a claim, of putting the ball in their court. So am I doing everything and anything on a claim in order to make sure that I'm positioning this person to get paid out? And it gets tricky from the contractor side because as much as I understand, there's only so much that I can say. So because I kind of got my handcuffed in that aspect, where I'm kind of going now is those pre-report inspections, just having something from documentation. If the last time you got your house checked out was a home inspection report, and that was, 4 or 7 years ago, you should have something on file. Like, if you got to file your taxes every year, you get tax benefits, it's just, you got to take care of the place. So what can we do is 25 photos of the property, just having that aware so that if something were to happen, or if it happens to be a major storm, let's say, I don't know, a huge windstorm happens in your county, and you just happen to have an older roof. If you have the photos before and you have it there and you're putting a claim, you're already just in position. It's about just making sense of the claim and trying to at least be in the best position so that if you are going to be met with some resistance, you've got your guns, you've got your ammo. And I don't run into many claims where people are in that position. It's more of like, well, I don't know how old the roof is. I don't know when it's done. I think we pulled a permit. I hired a Haitian guy up the street. So as many stories as you hear of what homeowners go through, it's just, okay, the spectrum is all over, but if you can commit to at least what I try to do for my clients is have these 25 photos, take these at least quarterly, and just have something, and then we can work from there. So if everybody can take the responsibility that way, shouldn't that open up some dialogue? That's the hope anyway. That's my kumbaya moment.
Right.
So this is what you do after you put the roof on. So you do a roof, and then you let your clients know that, hey, just in case you need an insurance claim in the future, you should be actively looking at the roof to show that there's damage, that there wasn't damage. Because like Han's question was like, how do you talk to a client when they're saying this is lack of maintaining a roof? And to me, it's like they can't. There's no way, the normal homeowner is going to be getting on their roof on a normal basis. So like I come across this problem all the time. They say that, so what can I grab onto and hold onto that can prove that they maintained it? It's like, I don't know very many homeowners are getting on roofs and taking pictures on a regular basis. Right. I was on a 3-story tile roof just the other day, and their doctor, it's a doctor who was very meticulous. Everything was in order, and he didn't know the last time he was on his roof. And if there's not an active leak or anything for him to get onto the roof, why would somebody get on a 3-story roof? Right. You know what I mean? And so the insurance companies are like, oh, you didn't maintain it. And how are you going to provide documents that shows that they maintained a roof when you have a 60-year-old retired doctor with a 3-story tile roof?
Right,
you know what I mean?
Right. That's hard to get on to begin with. Right.
And
so maybe just a little bit of pushback, because we have allegedly there's insurance companies that will fly a drone over a house and say, oh, this roof is old, and basically make a decision on it that way. We have so much access to technology, you don't really have to do the full risk of getting onto a 3-story roof. It's find somebody to drone. And that's why I'm saying having a relationship with a roofer going forward into like kind of this new era is important, because now your house isn't just a one-time project, it's a portfolio. If the average homeowner is going to live there for 7 years, it's like, okay, what are you going to experience? I guarantee within 7 years, the average Florida resident is going to go through 4 hurricanes of some type of magnitude.
Sure. I mean, and you look at it this way, Hans and I, we used to say every 2 years you'd want to look at your roof, take pictures, and do a really good inspection around the house, because that's how long you were able to file a new claim and look at your policy periods. The legislature changed the law last year to say, well, now you have 1 year to report the new claim, 18 months to supplement. So every year, or to get in a relationship with a roofer, most roofers offer a free inspection, especially before storm season. If you're going to say, listen, if you're going to be my roofer, come check me out before storm season, run the drone, go check out my roof, tell me what's going on with it before you get into storm season. That's your ticket right there. Or if you've had a recent home inspection, 4-point wind inspection, I had to have one to reduce my insurance on my house. So if you keep that on record, that may be good enough until the next storm season coming up. Speaking of, we're going into storm season now. Yeah. Now we're encroaching June in the state of Florida.
Oh no.
Do we have predictions? Over the years, we've seen storms hit anywhere from, let's look at October 10th for Hurricane Michael, right, to as early as September 28th for Hurricane Ian, all over and in between.
Was it 9/11, 17 for Irma?
For Irma, right?
What I recall back in 2004, we had Charlie, Francis,
and Gene.
Ivan, Gene. Ivan went up to the Panhandle.
Are we talking about late storms? Because Nicole was like November 10th.
Well, that's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
Is I remember one of my boys was born like between like Charlie and Francis. But they were July. There used to be a lot more like July storms. That was more than Andrew. I lived in Miami when Andrew hit. That was all middle of August. What I see is from a shifting perspective is we haven't had a storm, and someone will correct me if I'm wrong, in June, July, August, middle September since Irma, and even after, and Irma's the earliest one I can think of in a long time. They started getting later and later, October, November. Are you kidding? Mm-hmm. I mean, by October, you were like, by Labor Day, you're like, we're good.
Right.
Yeah.
And now, like, Labor Day almost starts the season from the last group of years.
Right. The official end of hurricane season in Florida is after Thanksgiving. Mm-hmm. So the end of Thanksgiving is the official end of storm season. So June 1st, Thanksgiving, and we should be good. So predictions this year? What do you think?
I don't know. I've got a pretty good inclination that it's, I've got a gut feeling. There's nothing scientific about that, but the last 7 years I've been pretty accurate. So, but yeah, I have a feeling this year is going to be extra active. And I know there's a bunch of hoopla about the weather people saying that it's going to be very, very active. I don't know if it's going to be isolated to just Florida or Texas and the North Carolinas, but everybody I talked to.
There's already storms in Texas. There was storms in Colorado with hailstorms already starting. Yeah. So I think it's inevitable for us to get hit with another storm in the next year or two in the state of Florida. So being prepared is getting your service providers lined up, getting your roofer lined up, getting your public adjuster lined up, to be ready for the storm. I'm telling you, you do not want to put your own claim together. If you're a homeowner, I'm a homeowner as well that's experienced damages to your home, and it's like, you want a public adjuster on your side at first. And I want to talk about this because we talked about the indemnity portion. I didn't mention the name of that, right? But that's what it's considered. If somebody has a claim for wind damage, you mentioned heavy wind damage on a roof. And so when that estimate comes out, that's what the homeowner needs to replace the roof. Let's use a round number, $10,000, a smaller roof, $10,000 to replace it. Well, that's the amount of the indemnity that's needed to replace the roof. That's what the homeowner, minus their deductible, right? So let's say they have a $1,000 deductible, $10,000 roof, they're going to get a check for $9,000. And so that's what they expect to get. But now, since the law changed last year, they took away attorney's fees. Any policy born after December 16, 2022, and then has a claim, you're outside of your realm of being able to get reimbursed your attorney's fees, expert costs, those types of fees that you're going to need, or those types of costs that you're going to need to get to the finish line. So it's either zero or you have to put money into it, or it comes out at the end. And Hans had said for years, he was telling his folks, is like, listen, don't worry about it. We're suing your insurer for $10,000. We're going to get you $10,000. Now it's a different conversation. Mm-hmm. So this is where I'm going to take that into it and bring it back to the public adjuster, because like say we're looking at the $10,000, you're so focused on the roof, and so are the roofers. Usually they get out there and say, okay, ma'am, you need a full roof replacement, it's $10,000, right? So you're looking at it that way. So we're all trying to get the indemnity for $10,000. Now we go through law change, and now all that's taken away, prevailing party attorney's fees are gone. So now you're looking at how can we get them $10,000 in their pocket, right? As close as they can, because that person wasn't saving up. And so we're going back to now have a licensed public adjuster really do a fine-tune inspection on your home. Because what if there's insulation that got wet? What if there's ceiling drywall that got wet and they didn't notice in the back corner of their closet a brown stain? Now there's drywall, there's paint. Now there could be wall damage, could be truss damage. It could be, further damages that maybe weren't seen until you really get into it. And maybe only a licensed or an experienced adjuster can look at that. And I know there are figures out there that suggest that public adjusters can get up to 700 times more, not even get, but be able to put all of those trades together into one estimate, and it's not anything more than what is owed to them, but it's usually what is found that others aren't looking at, right? And that's in the homeowner's benefit.
Yeah, and to tie it back to what Hans was talking about with what insurance companies look for to deny claims, and how are you going to be prepared as a homeowner to file a claim? Trust Public Adjusting Group, we offer a pre-storm inspection. And that takes care of all, like, how do you prove that the roof was maintained, and wear and tear and mechanical defects, which are the staple denials that are basically templated by the insurance company to deny these roofs. So we offer free inspections and policy reviews because not only can we focus in on what the templated denials are and address them pre-storm because we know what is coming and what they're going to hang their hat on in terms of the storm damage, but also the policy itself. Do you have the option to, the right to repair? Do you have the limits in where you want them to be? Do you have appropriate ALE? You can switch your policy almost immediately, if you have somebody tell you what to do. But once the storm or the peril happens, you can't retroactively change the policy. So now you're stuck with the policy at hand. So public adjusters are a magnitude of things to help the insured during the crisis, right? But one of them is a policy expert. So you don't need to necessarily call us after something happens. We're public insurance adjusters. That means we are here to service the public and protect the public. That's our title.
And the insurance carriers are always telling the insured, well, go get 3 estimates, really trying to bury them with paperwork. And that's where you really shine because it's like, you don't need to go get 3 estimates for your roof, 3 estimates for drywall, go try to get a truss guy, try to get, a GC in here to try to map. That's crazy. You're turning your insured into an adjuster, basically. And so that's crazy.
Yeah, and that's one thing that I was talking about earlier before the podcast started is this notion that the IAs are being taken away. So IAs. There was a recent claim that I went out to, a very nice home, and there was wet drywall, and it was starting to mold. And the adjuster the field adjuster that was there wrote for paint only. So paint only and the adjusters that work at my company, the PAs that are at my company, they had moisture meters and flare guns, and they were showing them how wet it was. I mean, visually you could see it. And we get the estimate. I was so appalled that I called this adjuster. I was like, man, what are you doing? You were there with the flare gun and my other PA, and you're writing for paint. And he said specifically, you know how it is, man.
Oh, that kills me.
I've got to do what they tell me to do, and they told me to write for paint only. I said, this was rude what I said next. I said, then what is your job? Like, why are you at the house? Like, if you're just like, you don't need to even be hired by the insurance company if you're just going to go out and write for paint when you're looking and touching and seeing molded drywall.
Right.
So what is the role of that IA? That IA is not there to inspect that independent adjuster when, especially, there's a public adjuster they're telling them.
They
all that
work
stuff.
for the insurance company. Their job is to lower the claim amount as much as they can. You're not in good hands.
Well, they take
You're
out
not
the
a good
I.
neighbor.
They take out the I in IA. I mean, they become an adjuster. They become a puppet. Become a bit of a pawn.
That's right.
Right.
And like you said, you know how it is, meaning that if he doesn't do that, he won't get work from that insurer anymore.
Exactly.
And that's the way that they control the marketplace. I mean, we saw years ago that several adjusters, independent adjusters, went up to Tallahassee before all the major law changes, right there on under oath, said, I have been told many, many times, not even told, but submitted their estimate. Their estimate was changed by the desk adjuster and then sent out with that independent adjuster's name still on it. And they said, that's not my estimate. They were changing, the insurance companies were changing the estimates, lowering the estimates, changing it to full roof replacements to repairs, under deductible payments and things like that after Hurricane Ian. So much bad faith has come out, and in prior years, of course, as well. Hurricane Irma was another one. UPC was on depositions. Their independent adjusters said, it was like that one meme where they said, how many times did you do that? I don't know. Was it more than 100? Yes. Was it more than 200? Yes. Was it more? Probably 500. It was like that, where the adjuster was saying, yeah, I did it more than 100 times. Did he wrongfully deny a claim because UPC told him, deny any claim after the second year, because he had 3 years at that point to report first notice of claim. Well, a lot of folks, a lot of roofing companies turned it on between years 2 and 3 because that's just the end of the cycle. So, of course, you're really trying to get out there. There's nothing wrong with boots on ground, ground and pound marketing, just to say, let me give you a free inspection. And they were filing these claims after year 2. And even though they're statutorily were allowed to, they were getting automatically denied only because of that reason. And UPC said we didn't want to. That's bad faith. And now we look forward to that. Nothing happened, obviously, because UPC won under, forked everything over to FIGA, and then all the good policies went over to Brian Lucas over at Slide, right? Somehow or Bruce Lucas, I always say that.
Yeah. Don't you think it's funny that they named that insurance company Slide? They took so the insurance company, UPC, goes bankrupt, insolvent, and then they slid all of those people over to
all the good policies, and
it's
they prepaid him. They prepaid Slide all of the premiums
70 million.
70 million.
Like, how is that? How is that legal? Like, okay, this new company Slide just like inherited all of these perfectly.
And he's the one that started Heritage,
people.
who bought first 70,000 policies from Citizens, which he paid for. Right, he raised the money for that, and then Citizens came back to him and says, "Hey, listen, we have another 300,000 policies that we're going to pay you ahead of time to go take over on our takeout policy program." How did he go from Enron as the CFO of Enron to Heritage to Slide, and the guy is just like printing money?
Like, are we allowed to, because you said Heritage, man, I've got crazy stories where judges were ordering Heritage to do things and they were ignoring it. Like, straight up, like, in contempt.
Well, you saw what happened recently.
They
just came out. They were fined $1 million for their play in downsizing claims from Hurricane Ian. And if you saw that came out in the paper, a few weeks ago, right, Hans? I think you reported on it, as a matter of fact. Do you remember more details about that?
I do and I don't. I think a lot of it was the same thing we talked about. I just as an aside, I had a similar situation.
Oh, there was a condo that they short paid.
Short paid on. It was like a $16 million. It was a big number, and they just simply really didn't pay it. But I had just in the last couple of months an adjuster on behalf of Universal. When we said, well, he said, well, there was damage to the roof. We're like, why is that on your estimate? Same thing, deposing a guy, just like we were talking about, literally within the last handful of months. So the conduct still goes on with Universal and others, literally telling this IA, take the roof off, like no roof. But they extended coverage for some interior damage, some ensuing loss stuff. But they took the roof off, and we're like, "Where's the roof?" And the guy he thought for a second, and he went, "I had it on there." And we're like,
"Wow."
Well, what do you mean by that? I had it on there. I sent it to Universal. They sent it back and told me to take it off. So you still have an original estimate and a revised estimate? Yes, I do. And now we're having a fight over getting that. But
yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah,
and they haven't paid, and they're still not paying.
That's the same type of bad behavior that is not only have been the norm for insurance companies, but bad faith has been lowered in the state of Florida. I mean, the bar has been reduced. The only thing that did come from it is they moved it from 2 years to 4 years to go after them at bad faith, but now it's a separate action. Whereas before,
and what really would happen
run simultaneously.
Is that you used to be able to have a right to sue for bad faith if they engage in certain conduct. Now that they can do all they want, and you can't go sue them for bad faith unless you get a judgment against them in the first case. So you say to your average client who's upset by the conduct of the insurer, and you say, look, it's going to take us a couple of years, and we got to go to trial. We've got a couple of years, we have to go to trial, and then once that's done, I can file another case for bad faith. And so we're going to be doing this, ladies and gentlemen, for like the next 5 years. And that's a long time. And people get fatigued, right? They're not in this business. We're all in this business. We know what it's about.
Right.
You tell the average Mr. and Mrs. Smith, hey, I'm going to spend the next 5 years doing this. They're like, 5 years?
Good thing is we're going to get them. Bad thing is hope you're still alive.
Right, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, or don't get fatigued. That's really a thing. Litigation fatigue is something, because then halfway through the litigation they come with a small number, and then they slowly bump it up to where it's just like, I don't know, should I take it now? Because they know that you're going to prevail, and that happens over and over again. And I did want to get. Go ahead.
That's what I just don't get, and that's when I had my eyes open. Like early 2017, I had this lady in Altamont Springs. She had a 3-tab roof, Hurricane Irma, everything was good. She had minor leaking. So like our original quote was like $18,000. So I'm thinking, oh, this makes sense. We'll redo the flat roof, redo the 2-pitch shingles, be done. That case sat for 2 years, and by the time we settled out, it was at $36,000. And I'm thinking, you could have said yes to me way sooner than to make this lady wait for 2 years. And the way her ceiling was set up, she had basically kind of like a wood interior, so all you saw was planks. None of that was touched when I first met her. By the time 2 years, all the staining that she had, she didn't have enough money to get those planks replaced. Oh, no. All because of how it was set up. And it's like at $18,000, you could have had a happy customer, but because the insurance company you mentioned earlier that went under basically held her for 2 years, she had way more damage. And it wasn't like she had money or was rolling in the dough. Like, she was in a specific area. So it's like, you're hurting the client more than anything, and all I'm asking is to just do the job right the first time.
Right.
That's what my eyes open up as far as
we've I saw an article in the Washington Post we talked about some time ago that an unlitigated, just a claim they pay on is about $11,000 on average. A claim they deny is average would cost the insurer about $40,000. So, I mean, you can literally see, and that's paying people like me, that's paying your defense lawyers, paying all the costs, all the experts, all those things. You know, paying a claim really isn't all that painful to the insurer. Actually, fighting them are, and much more costly to them in the long run.
Well, that's what I wanted to talk about, is because the insurance commissioner himself is on the website saying that litigating the claims isn't what causes the insurers to claim insolvency. It's lack of management. So it's not, you know, they're all claiming, some of the people, you know, in Tallahassee are claiming, or let's say Panama City Beach, are claiming that it's the litigation, but it's not, because, you know, the one step below him, he's saying, no, it's not the litigation costs, it's mismanagement of the claims department. So, you know, you have an entity that's like crying wolf to get their ways with the laws. You know, so it's just, it's crazy.
Well, we've seen that obviously from 2016, 17, 18, all those years, the changes in the kind of the witch hunt aspects, or the blame game regarding public adjusters, regarding AOB, assignment of benefit contractors, PAs kind of again, and then last year lawyers, and roofers then lawyers. So all of us have been kind of burned at the stake, as it were, getting all the changes because of the insurers' threats to leave the market. So they've gotten all the concessions that they've wanted, like what you're talking about, yet still all the legislation for the last 5 years, Rich and I talk about this, for all they've done, none of it requires any premium reduction.
Right, it doesn't. And I saw our joke of a CFO, Jimmy Petronas, on television, I think, or maybe news stream somewhere on social media, stating that he was happy to report that the insurance companies are not getting double-digit increases anymore, and that some of them haven't submitted for any at all recently. And people underneath that post started saying, You're full of shit. They're still getting major increases, and we have not seen any decreases in the insurance market. And that's so sad, because it's like they literally got everything and the kitchen sink that they wanted on 3 major sessions, 3 special sessions, and one 2023 session. It was where they finished us off. And so they first take away the rights of the assignment of property damage assignment of benefit guys. So you saw the attorney's fees come away May 26, 2022 in the first special session. The next special session, Senate Bill 2A, they went ahead and they took out attorney's fees as of December 16th, 2022 for homeowners in the property insurance market. Took one step further in House Bill 837 in March 24th of 2023 and took out attorney's fees for every insurer dispute that you can think of. So whether you're in medical, auto, which they just destroyed auto and took away everything. AOB's rights for auto shops to go out there and advertise. So you're only left with now Safelight, owned by State Farm. That's why they're all red. And so we're like, what are we left with? Even under dispute on your life insurance, you have to sue your insurance company. You have to hire Hans hourly now, or you have to pay at the end your fees. And so let me wrap this back up. What are we doing today in the property insurance market without attorney's fees, without assignment of benefit contractors, right? Because those guys would do the work up front, wait for the money later. So at least the insured is in a nice sealed, put back home, and they're waiting for the insurance company to do the right thing. Because they took all those chips off the table, where are we at now in today's market going into storm season? right? And so I go around the state and talk to contractors about how we're contracting to homeowners now, where we can still have that same feel, you know, of, hey, we're going to protect you now. We're going to start work now, get you in queue right after a major storm or event. Because that's my biggest fear is, now the power's out for a week or two, and then when can I get a contractor out? Now we're just waiting. It's like waiting for a pool screen guy after a major event. It's like, it's going to be months, right? So how can we build these relationships and know what we're signing and being taken care of to where everybody is the same, whether they have money or not? Right, because after a major storm,
public adjuster.
right,
we're quarterbacking the whole thing because we got the relationship.
Go back to you need 3 estimates for your roof, 3 estimates for drywall paint. Right, screw all that. Right, you make one phone call to a public adjuster. They're going to estimate everything for you. Right, and overhead and profit and everything that's needed to do your job, because that's what contractors are going to need. But really what we need, instead of a $10,000 for your roof estimate, we need the full estimate. It may come out to $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 to include, like you mentioned things like coverage A for your dwelling, and then different coverages like maybe mold, ALE, which is if you have to move out, you can't use your kitchens and your bathrooms, and you have to expense those things. But if you don't have a public adjuster, you're going to be missing money out there somewhere. And you need every dollar you can, because the percentage for the attorney, if you need it's coming out, you know, out of that, the cost for experts and those types of things. And the only way to be able to afford to do that is if you make sure you have all the money or all the chips on the table. And the only way you're going to do that is through a public adjuster in the beginning.
That's right. A public adjuster, a good one who's been doing it long enough, you know, has the relationships and the network of people that've been through the good and the bad and the ugly, and also the fantastic. So, you know, there should be no shortage of contractors or attorneys, mold specialists, engineers, anything like that to help facilitate all of that and expedite it. Because if you go through it piece by piece, you know, if you finally do need an attorney, you know, you're months down the road, where as a good public adjuster should have that expedited within 3 months. You should be knowing, okay,
you already have the relationships too. With the you know, your roof is leaking. So you're going to call Sterling, and he's going to say, listen, okay, he's going to come out and do the free inspection. Hey, your roof is leaking. I know a guy that can come out and tarp your roof for you. I know a guy that can come out and do the estimate for you, get everything all signed up. And as a contractor side of things, I want a public adjuster on every job, because there's 2 names now on the checks. Right? There's the consumer's name and there's the public adjuster's name. So the public adjuster continues to be the quarterback. Hey, I helped you bring in the guy for the tarp. I have to negotiate all that. We might not get 100 cents on the dollar for all the service providers, but that's where you can push it to appraisal or mediation, those types of things. Now your roofer is going to come out and help put the roof tarp on and all that. And if everybody's using the same contracts, like these direction to pay, 90-day net terms to the homeowners, and then a letter of protection in case we need to bring in Hans. Now it goes from then Sterling being the quarterback. If we have to then bring in the attorney, then the attorney with everybody else having a letter of protection. That means if he has to file suit, the homeowner gets initial tarp, he gets inspection, all the services that we need to make sure that the damage doesn't get worse. That's what the policy says. Make sure that the homeowner maintains a property where it doesn't get any worse.
Mitigate damages.
That's right.
I like how you did that, because you pretty much laid out the full scope. And going in this new era, that's what homeowners need to realize. Is like they need to think bigger than just getting a check and then trying to find the 3 estimates. It's about working within the network of people in order to get you what it is that you deserve.
That's right. You'll already be set up. If we go through this, all the vendors are already set up. All the vendors have their prices in and all that. And if it gets to Hans and we all have letter of protection set up, no recovery, no fee to the homeowner, we still tell them that. So us service providers are doing this work up front. If it ends up going to Hans, he has to file suit. He's going to get it all settled, and then he's going to get everybody paid separately. He's going to call me up. Hey, I got this much money for you. You got, okay, good. He's going to call me next. Hey, I got this much money for you. You good with that? Basically, the attorney is doing the negotiation. The homeowner is still sitting at home doing what they do best, which is whatever they're doing. and it's not insurance negotiations.
That's right. They don't need to be so overwhelmed with the whole process of filing a claim. And you know, that's the problem is they think it's an easy process, but it really isn't.
And they try to do it themselves, you know. But that's what the insurance companies want. They want to go to the insurance. You can do it yourself. Go ahead, take a video of this. Send me pictures, and I'll help you estimate your claim.
That's like opposing counsel. Yeah, just give me the evidence. I swear this will never make it into the file.
Yeah, or like State Farm has now put in their policy that if you don't produce the proof of loss within 30 days, it used to be you have to get the request. and then you can violate the terms of the contract, which is your policy, if you don't respond within, I think, 60 days of the proof of loss, right? Now it's built into the contract. So the homeowner could be taking pictures and doing what they need to be doing for their life and making specific timelines lapse and have no idea because it's built into the policy.
That's right.
So,
That's right.
you know, things like that, strategizing on the early side of the claim or before a disaster with the PA that has the proper network is really the golden ticket to come out of a claim ahead.
That's right.
So
That's right.
One thing I do want to mention, Richie, so one, I want to say thank you. This conversation has been amazing, very insightful. Like, I've learned a lot. I wasn't able to speak much, but threw my little nuggets out there. But I'd like to open up an invitation to you gentlemen. So like an initiative, like I said, I'm trying to create the relationships with realtors, property managers, and homeowners to basically get the contract and like have that network. So I'm having an event on June 26th at Celebration Title Group. Basically, you're hosting a panel. It's like a tri-panel. So there's 3 different panels. On the first one, it'll be insurance agents and public adjusters, basically discussing kind of what we're going through today.
Love it.
The second panel will actually be property claims attorneys. I got a few attorneys that I've done some work with. They're coming in to speak as well. And then finally is a contractors panel. I got all the confirmations of basically general contractors coming in, and basically we're all going to talk about the industry and get ready for hurricane.
Is
Right.
it Celebration's
awesome.
office on Douglas here? Or?
211 East Colonial Drive.
Oh, the one downtown. Okay.
Yeah.
That's great, and that's a great segue into. Let's get some contact information. We'll start with you, and we'll go down the line so the folks that are listening today can get these numbers and websites and all that stuff set up. Contact information for all of us. You would definitely need a roofer, public adjuster, and an attorney. If you don't have one already, get your phones out and ready to store the numbers and go for it.
All right, this is Bryan Keys, Big Man on the Roof, partnered with Skylight Roofing. You can find me on Instagram at bigman.ontheroof, and then you can follow my Facebook page, Big Man on the Roof. I'm the biggest to ever do it. I promise to entertain you.
That's awesome.
There you go.
That's awesome. And right now, before storm season, you're listening right now, it's the best time to get your professional involved before storm season. Get photos done of your roof, maybe an estimate if there are minor repairs. Get those done. I had a roofer come out. They went through the house, went through the roof, charging me like a couple $100 to seal up a couple of loose items. And now I have photos and I have an invoice now of me fixing my tile roof before
Yes.
storm season.
Yes.
So try me. Loggerhead. All right. Insurance. I did everything right, though. All right. So let's go with Sterling to give your information.
All right,
Go for
thank
it.
you. Yeah, I'm Sterling Scott. I'm the owner of Trust Public Adjusting Group. We service the whole state of Florida, but we're headquartered out of Daytona Beach. My cell phone is 850-708-2582. And our website is trustpublicadjustinggroup.com. There's videos on my website. You guys can check it out. And yeah, free property inspection, free policy reviews. We'll help you any way we can.
And I'll tell you, most of the percentages that I've seen of the differences of a consumer doing their own estimates themselves and the difference of a public adjuster doing the estimate is hundreds of times more, up to 700 times more of an estimate amount done by a public adjuster than a consumer. It's only because the consumer doesn't know what they're doing and just hires wrong vendors to give them estimates, and maybe they're missing stuff. And you get one experienced inspector to do it all in one. That's how you're able to really increase the odds of you collecting more money.
And Richie got that number from an OPAGA study. All right, and that study is totally unbiased. They really didn't care about the outcome or the stats of that in any way at all. So those stats are legit and real and from an unbiased source. They could care less if it favored public adjusters or not. So 758% or 757%, basically 7 to 8 times, 7 or 8x. Is what a public
And
adjuster
we
will
need,
get you.
in today's market, because you have to pay for Hans Kennon now, you need every dollar you can on the table.
And Hans Kennon is going to love it because when he gets the file from me, he'll have everything and it'll expedite that whole process too. He's like, thank you, Sterling, for giving me a silver plate, no pun intended, of a claim.
It really is true. I mean, preparation is key to all this. Sometimes insureds come in and they have like a shoebox full of like receipts and stuff. It's really hard to make that into a quality claim. So having someone on the front end like a public adjuster who can look at all that and get all that. Many years ago, I had a lady come to see me, and she gave me her contents list, and I told this before, she was with State Farm, and I said, an older lady, very nice, and I said, ma'am, you have no silverware on your property list. It was a fire case. And she was like, I forgot all about my silverware. I mean, literally, so I mean, the simplest of things.
It's the small things.
that add up. I mean, you look in your closet, we tell people, look in your closet, and you say, well, how many shoes you got? You're like, some guy will go, 2. You're like, no, you don't. You got 10, you just don't think about it. Same thing, I mean, go in and take pictures of all that stuff, man. Just go around, because, you know, I have a lot of ties. I'm a big tie wearer. Someone says, how many you have? I go, I go, I don't know, I got a lot. So take a picture of it these days. Pictures are cheap, you know. You don't have to go to photo.
More than 50, more than 100. Maybe, possibly.
Possibly. Well, if you want to get paid on it, you better have a picture of it. I can tell you that.
Right.
But my name's Hans Kennon. I'm a board-certified civil trial lawyer. I specialize in first-party property, which is what we've been talking about. My cell phone's 407-782-0258. That's 407-782-0258. Just for fun, also my regular office line is 407-464-HANS, H-A-N-S, 464-H-A-N-S. Happy to talk to you about any questions you may have regarding your policy, your claim, whatever you got, we're happy to help.
Awesome, awesome. I appreciate you guys being on the show today. Contractor Talk with Richie Kidwell. I'm your host. Every week, some new content for you out on our YouTube page. Find us there on YouTube, Facebook, and we're on Spotify, iTunes on the audio side of things. So again, thank you guys for joining us today on our show, and we'll have some more content for you very soon. Talk to you guys later. See you.